This is my Bazzite first impressions for the Lenovo Legion Go. So I recently got a Steam Deck and I got a chance to use SteamOS, and I was like, this is actually kind of nice. And some of the games just work out of the box. There was issues, and one of which was like Team Fortress 2 for some reason just would not work. There was too many layers vertically, and so whenever there was a time for me to have to click something, the clicking action wouldn't work on that modal that would come up. So there was issues like that, and I think I've experienced that a couple times even on Bazzite. But I found myself kind of like, I actually kind of like SteamOS, and the gaming experience feels more console-like, and being able to sleep it like a Switch would, rather than having Windows drain your battery, was a big promise to me. And so I had a few videos recently, both on this channel and on the other channel, talking about these devices, particularly about like what operating systems do I want to use between these different devices. I even have a Booster 01 eGPU that I want to hook up to it, and it has a drive within that. So I was actually thinking I could use that for basically creating a Windows installation. But the ability to create this system of interconnected devices and having different drives started complicating things, especially when it came to partitions and experiences with just different operating systems. So I was thinking like Batocera and Windows and Bazzite, and the ideal situation probably would have been like having all three. But I can't really do that. You can't load off the SD card, and I couldn't really partition the drive very well without wiping the Windows. And I managed to find a way to shrink Windows and expand the Bazzite installation, and I did it, and it broke, and it wouldn't actually load into Bazzite. So what I decided to do was actually just fully load Bazzite into Legion Go. Now, I wish I had my capture card set up so I could actually show you what's going on. What I'm going to try to do is just simply show it here. And also, too, let me know if this video is too quiet, because this stupid microphone keeps changing the volume gain. But this is actually pretty nice. Now, granted, the fan is still kind of loud a little bit. It actually, of course, went down as soon as I put the mic up to it. But it's interesting to me the different things you can do with this device. And since it's SteamOS, I actually have the Pip-Boy sounds going, and I have the Switch-like interface, and it's nice. There's all these different games, and the reason why I actually wiped the Windows drive is that I wanted more space for games. I had some games that were actually on both operating systems, and I'm like, why do I have duplicate? The only real reason why I wanted Windows is so I could mod Skyrim and Fallout and all the other games in those series. However, eventually Vortex is going to come around on Linux and actually be a little bit better. But even if I had to still do it on Windows, there's other consoles, like even the PC I'm recording on right now, or on the eGPU that I can do it on. Theoretically, I can install Windows on the eGPU, at least a portable version, but I think I can do a regular version too, and just have it turned on whenever I load into it on this. You have to kind of do boot order a little bit weird, but otherwise it should work. And the idea behind that is actually not that far-fetched. And so if I only need Windows for that, technically speaking, I don't even need it for content creation. I'm using Mail Studio on Windows right now, but I could easily just use OBS or Streamlabs on Linux. I think Streamlabs is on Linux. And essentially, I'm almost to the point where I'm just going to full-blown go to Linux because Windows is just being so terrible. But I want to talk about the experience on the Legion Go. So first and foremost, being able to put it to sleep is really nice. And that is something that actually changes quite a bit how you interact with it. And I'm still kind of used to turning it off. That's just kind of how I am with consoles. I just turn everything off. But I'm going to try to get used to actually just playing it kind of out of box. The other issue was like retro gaming. I really want to play a lot of retro games. And I have like 200 gigs worth of ROMs that I've added over the years. So I've been doing retro gaming since I was 4 years old. Crazy. But the situation of using this console was interesting to me, where I just didn't have enough space on the Steam Deck to load everything on there, and I had a really hard time actually with the interface, particularly the KDE interface, of dragging and dropping and using my external drives and using different things to try to load things on there. Legion actually had a little bit easier time, especially since I went with the GNOME interface instead of KDE. That was actually kind of an interesting change. And on top of that, I managed to kind of have some experience from that Steam Deck to make the Emu Deck experience a little bit easier process this time around. So I moved everything over and was able to get all my emulators on there. And with Switch being so difficult, I finally got Citron to install. And I even downloaded, I think, Eden too, but none of them want to read my keys files that I dumped off of my system and stuff like that. And so like I'm having issues where like Ryujinx does not want to read the keys. It'll read it, say I got it, cool. When it tries to read the firmware, it forgets the keys. Don't know why. If you have a solution or you have that situation, please comment down below. I actually actively need help right now about that because I don't know what to do about it. And I actually got Citron to finally load into Emu Deck. It was something to do with the app image being capitalized, and it just wasn't like that when I downloaded it for whatever reason. So it's frustrating to me that like I had to go through that process, but I did it. I got it to load in. Cemu does not want to load my games at all, but every other console seems to work pretty much just fine. It is frustrating when it comes to like getting the controllers to sync up with it, because for some reason they don't want to actually like load into that. But I wonder if that's just because the emu deck not allowing me to put the controllers into the actually app. Again, if you have Steam Deck or Legion Go Bazite experience with controllers and emulators, please let me know. But that's kind of like the frustration with SteamOS in general, rather than just the Legion Go or Bazite. Now, when it comes to playing a lot of games, I haven't had any issues with any of them really loading at all, which is interesting. However, that's only with Steam games. With Heroic Games launcher, they didn't work at all. I had one game from GOG, Diablo, and like 5 games from Epic Game Store. None of them would work at all. Even when I went on Proton Experimental, even when I said use the Steam runtime, even when I said even when I loaded it from the desktop mode, none of the games would work. Again, if you have comments or solutions, let me know. But that is frustrating. And I have a lot of games on Epic Game Store that I just got over the years. I would like to play a lot of them. But for now, I'm just going to stick with my Steam games. I have a decent library there. I ended up downloading Resident Evil Revelations and decided I don't like playing it. So that's kind of funny. But I'm going to try to get back into The Witcher. I'm going to try some of these space games, like Elite Dangerous, for example. I thought would be pretty cool on a console like this. You want to have controller experience with something like that when you're controlling a spaceship. And even like Endless Space, which I never got around to playing. I figured it would be a good way to go about it. There's a lot of Pokemon clones like Temtem and Koromon and Nexamon that I want to play. Harvest Moon or Story Seasons as it is now, Stardew Valley. A lot of games that are perfect for this handheld. And then, of course, Fallout and Skyrim. Like, I don't mind playing them vanilla as much as I want to play them modded. And maybe playing them in vanilla will motivate me to get around to doing that more. So I think that the ease of access and just being able to load these games and play them and even be able to modify it. For some reason, the boot video won't change. I don't know if that's a Bazzite or Legion Go thing, something like that, because for some reason it just won't load the modded alternative load video, like the startup video. But the CSS loader works fine, the TDP controller works fine, the audio still sucks on the Legion Go. Maybe I need to get an audio booster because it does seem actually more quiet than Windows was. So there is that. And then when it comes to using the other Decky loader stuff, let's see what I got. I got the Proton DB badges, Emu achievements, Emu Decky. Emu Decky doesn't do anything, but you might as well get it. Animation changer doesn't do anything. Audio loader does change things. I got the Pip-Boy sounds. Steam Grid DB I'm not really using, but I downloaded it because it's useful at some point at least. So yeah, there's not much I can tell you at the moment, but I wanted to make a quick first impressions video just in case that any of you were interested. So yeah, thanks.